Good afternoon. This microphone's fallen on me. Welcome to the 151st annual meeting of the Chicago Bar Association. Thank you. My name is Ray Koenig, and I am, for about the next half hour or so, president of the CBA. I would first like to introduce our head table, and I'm going to begin to the far end at my right. Our new YLS chair, Kenny Matuski. Justice David Overstreet. My immediate predecessor, past president Tim Tomasic. Also a past president and a Supreme Court Justice, Joy Cunningham. Katie Liss, incoming CBA first president. The Honorable Chief Judge Timothy Evans. This guy, the next president, John Sciaccotta. And then I'll move to my far left and begin with the CBA's incomparable executive director, Beth McMean. Next is Father Richard Lapata, President Emeritus of Fenwick High School. Justice Elizabeth Rochford. Former YLS Chair and incoming CBA Treasurer, John Amarillo. Justice Mary Kay O'Brien. Judge Nicole Patton, your incoming second Vice President. And the Chief of our Supreme Court, Mary Jane Tice. I would also like to acknowledge all of the other judges in the audience so that we can thank them for all the hard work that you do every day with a round of applause. So if you are a judge, please stand. I note that the rebels are seated at my table up front, the three who did not stand. I would also like to welcome all elected officials that are in attendance today and invite them to stand to be recognized. Next, I'd like to welcome all the Bar Association presidents in the room to stand up and receive a warm round of applause for all you do for our profession. I'd also like to recognize two other special guests we have here, former Secretary of State Jesse White and former Alderman Bill Banks. And finally, but not least, I have the special interest in another group I'm about to join, and I'd like to recognize the CBA's past presidents. Please rise so we can give you a round of applause. And now I welcome Reverend Father Richard Lapata, the President Emeritus of Fenwick High School, to give our invocation.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for this moment as you gather the members of the Chicago Bar Association and their friends in the celebration of another year. Bless them for the good work they have accomplished and the honor they bring to the legal profession. This celebration also marks the installation of John Sciaccotta as the association's next president. We ask you, Lord, to bless John in this role of leadership and to grant him and all the members in their pursuit of knowing and exercising the law with wisdom, conviction, and integrity. May they successfully reach the goals for which the association was founded, and may their efforts bring true justice, peace, and the common good for all men and women. O God, endow these gathered here today with a spirit of friendship and good fellowship. Finally, bless the food and the drink we are about to share. Amen, amen, amen. Good appetite, everybody.
And now we'll have a break for lunch. Hello. Can I get everybody's attention again? I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. And in that vein, I would like all of us to acknowledge and thank the amazing wait staff here who are making sure we're having a great day. I would also like to take a moment to recognize the hard work and dedication of our outgoing board members. So please hold your applause to the end, but as I announce your name, if you're here, please stand. Louis Apostle, Nadra El-Rabadi, Nina Fain, Anthony Feda, Cynthia Granfield, Martin Marty, Jeffrey Moskowitz, Judge Mary Rowland, Kevin Thompson, Judge Alan P. Walker, Matthew Walsh, and past President Tim Tomasic. Thank you, every one of you, for the leadership and guidance you gave this year and your continued commitment to and support of the CBA. And I will note that our next president took notes and will be calling you all back for voluntary leadership positions. You never get away. Next, I'd like to actually welcome our immediate past president, Tim Tomasic. He's filling in for CBA Secretary Trish Rich, who unfortunately, due to the storms, her flight was canceled last night and she's stuck in New York. So Tim is gonna fill in for Trish and he's gonna read the minutes from the 2023 annual meeting. Tim?
Thank you, President Ray. Executive Director Beth McMean called me at 11 last night and advised me that our secretary was unavailable because she was stuck in New York. I met with Beth at 7:30 this morning at the CBA and went through the minutes, and I am pleased to report they are ready to be presented. Madam Court Reporter, Chicago Bar Association annual meeting held June 29, 2023, Union League Club. Yes, sir. We have a motion to waive the reading of the minutes. We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Trish couldn't have done it better herself. Our next order of business is the annual treasurer's report, and unfortunately our treasurer, Nina Fain, is out of town on business today, so please welcome another suitable substitute, Katie Liss, soon to be sworn in as our first vice president.
All right, thank you so much, President. So I am not Nina. I'm here to read the treasurer's report. It is very brief and it's actually very positive. So excited to share the news, and for the court reporter who's here, I'll get into this just a little bit of detail. The projected financials for the CBA's operation for fiscal year 23-24 indicate another strong financial performance of the organization, as revenue is expected to comfortably exceed expenses and the cash position increase for another year. These metrics are especially important as the organization continues to take on association-related challenges of an evolving legal and economic environment. Revenue from membership dues exceeded the association's conservative budget, while the association was also supported by significant support from the following key areas: considerable case income revenue from the CBA's lawyer referral program, lawyer referral service program, capitalizing on current money market rates to use the CBA's cash holdings to provide investment income to fund general operations, maintaining organizational expenses despite a challenging inflationary environment, Under the guidance of the CBA Treasurer, Nita Fain, the organization selected a new accounting firm, Miller Cooper, to perform its audit and tax services. The association's financial statements were again found to be in good standing with generally accepted accounting principles. The CBA's Finance Committee and Board of Managers reviewed and approved the audit report. The CBA's investments, both in the Wolf Fund and Special Gifts and Legacies Fund, continue to grow and serve their respective missions as both funds met or exceeded their benchmarks. Treasurer Fain, with the support of the CBA's investment advisors, Merrill Lynch and BlackRock, made notable improvements to the fund's investment policy statements with the creation of explicit policies to prohibit investment in cryptocurrency in derivative markets. Additionally, the Wolf Fund was able to provide support to 6 attorneys in need with grants exceeding $288,000. Finally, the CBA Board of Managers recently accepted another conservative budget for fiscal year 24-25 as the organization looks to build off its recent success and support the newly appointed leadership. So with that, that's the Treasurer's report, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie, and many thanks to our Finance Committee for their hard work this past year in keeping us on track. It is now time to introduce most of our new officers, except that guy, and board members. I'd like to invite Adam Zebulon, the chair of the CBA Election Committee, to give the committee's report.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adam Zebulon, like President Koenig stated. I'm here to report the results of the election committee. But first, before I do, I want to thank committee members, Judge Megan Goldish, Raymond Rushing, Whitney Seal, and Sean Kasserman for volunteering to serve on the committee. So thank you guys. Second, I want to congratulate my good friend and mentor, Ray Koenig, on a stellar bar year. Congratulations, Ray. Ray, you've represented the CBA with integrity in class, and on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community, we are so proud that you made history this year by being the first out LGBTQ plus president. Thank you, Ray, and happy Pride. And lastly, I want to congratulate a man that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, John Sciaccotta. I can't think of a better person to lead us into the next 150 years. Thank you, John. CBA members, there were no nominations made for any office or for membership on the Board of Managers other than the nominations already made by the nominating committee. Therefore, pursuant to Article 8, Section 8.7 of the bylaws of the association, the Elections Committee cast the vote of the members of the association for the following nominees selected by the nominating committee. They are, for second vice president, Judge Nicole Patton. For secretary, Tricia Rich. For treasurer, Jonathan Amarillo. The following nominees for 2-year terms on the Board of Managers are Nisha Dotson, John Ellis, Kenya Jenkins Wright, Judge Kenya Jenkins Wright, Michael Kozlowski, Francine Lynch, Sari Montgomery, Justice Rena Van Tyne, and Judge Andrea Wood. Under the bylaws of the association, the person who served as YLS chair 2 years prior automatically becomes a member of the Board of Managers. This year, Daniel Berkowitz, having served as YLS Chair, becomes a member of the Board of Managers. The bylaws also provide that the second Vice President of the Association automatically succeeds to the office of First Vice President. This year, Catherine C. Liss, having served during the past year as second Vice President, automatically succeeds to the office of First Vice President. In addition, the first Vice President of the Association automatically succeeds to the office of President. This year, John C. Sciaccotta, having served during the past year as first Vice President, automatically becomes President. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you, Adam, and what a fantastic group of talented attorneys and judges who are joining our Board of Managers. We really are excited about that. We have a lot of exciting things to come in the next year under John, but before we move on, I want to recognize our wonderful continuing board members, and please hold your applause to the end, but stand when I announce your name. Tracy Brandmeier, Maggie Mendenhall-Casey, Josie Go, Brian Hausman, Justice Margaret Stanton McBride, Peter McNamara, John Mitchell, Air Salvi, Brandon Stark. Next, I have the great honor of introducing my friend and past president and Circuit Court of Cook County Judge, Miriam Ahmad, to swear in our board and officers. If our board members and officers accept John, could please stand. That means all the board members and all the officers except for John, please stand because you're about to take an oath. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Koenig, thank you. President-elect Sciaccotta, and honorable guests. To the board and officers, please raise your right hand to be sworn. I state your name. Will faithfully execute my duties as an officer or board member of the Chicago Bar Association to the best of my ability. And in accordance with the bylaws of the association. Thank you very much, officers and board members. Welcome again to the board of the Chicago Bar Association.
So thank you to Judge Ahmad, and congratulations to our new Board of Managers and Officers. We are very excited to see all that you can accomplish in the next year, and I look forward to continuing to serve on the Executive Committee and Board with you. And Katie, now is your chance as the new First Vice President. I just took the oath as immediate past president, and there's no president. It's your turn. I'm just kidding. All right, so now I get to share some brief remarks, and I promise they're brief, as the outgoing president. Serving as the CBA's president during our 150th year has truly been the biggest honor in my 25 years of practice. And I want to begin my brief remarks, by thanking you, our members, for affording me that honor. I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight our work and progress during this past year. First and foremost, the CBA led the change for upholding democracy and the rule of law, locally, across our country, and internationally, by focusing a spotlight on the vital role that rule of law plays in a stable and functioning democracy. It is truly my hope, that our work will help carry our nation and our allies through the potentially dark, but definitely uncertain days ahead. As always, the CBA kept up with and ahead of trends in our profession. We created a cannabis law committee, a biometric information and privacy law committee, and a family office committee, the last of which is believed to be the first of its kind for a bar association in the United States. Recognizing how our profession has changed as we move away from the pandemic, we also created ad hoc committees which studied and developed recommendations on post-pandemic court practices and post-pandemic office practices. Look for the reports developed by these committees to be published soon. They provide valuable insight into both courtroom and workplace practices, which will help guide our courts and employers as we move forward. The CBA, yet again, enjoyed a successful CLE abroad program, if I do say so myself, this time in Mexico. Teaming up with our friends at the Hispanic Lawyers Association of Illinois, we explored the wonders of Mexico City and San Miguel while experiencing excellent comparative law CLE with legal professionals from the US and Mexico, including a former member of the Mexican Supreme Court who did not bite her tongue. I want to thank everyone on the committee that planned the trip, with a shout out to Trish Rich and Juan Morado for planning and running the CLE portion of the Mexico trip. The CBA also took a little bit of time this past year to celebrate our 150th anniversary. As many of you know from participating in our various celebratory activities and seeing our social media posts about them, we had quite the busy year. That year was planned under the able leadership of Judge Nicole Patton and Terry Murphy, our former executive director, while their committee was created by our visionary past president, Lynn Grayson. Kudos to Lynn, Terry, Judge Patton, and their committee for a successful celebration, which included signature CLEs, an amazing gala at Union Station, ringing the opening bell at the Chicago Board of Exchange, and throwing the first pitches at both a Chicago Cubs game and a Chicago White Sox game. And please note, as the pitcher, I did not embarrass you. Both of my pitches were actually over the plate, a little high, a little low, but over the plate, and neither were in the dirt. Our 150th anniversary was also recognized by the City of Chicago and will be recognized by the US Congress. First, the CBA's alderman, or the alderman of the ward in which our building is located, Lamont Robinson, sponsored and passed a resolution in the Chicago City Council recognizing an anniversary. Next, Congressman Jonathan Jackson will be reading a proclamation into the US congressional record from the floor of the US House of Representatives, congratulating the CBA on its 150th anniversary. We'll receive a copy of the proclamation and we'll share that video when it becomes available. And thank you to the CBF for making that happen. We also, as Adam mentioned, celebrated another milestone. I am the first openly LGBTQ president in our 150-year history. Thank you. I am hopeful that my visibility as an openly gay man in this role had a positive impact on others, especially those younger lawyers who are trying to be their authentic selves as they make their marks in our profession. I am pleased to report that, as promised 1 year ago, this really was our gayest year ever. We also look forward to the future. Importantly, we have strengthened and renewed inter-bar association relations, reopening lines of communications between bar leaders. During these very complicated times, those relationships and the dinners shared by over 40 bar association leaders sustained me and many of my fellow bar leaders. I would like to particularly recognize and thank the group of leaders with whom I served on the Bar Leadership Council to recreate and organize events all bar leaders attended. Judge Megan Goldish of Decalogue, Whitney Seal of the WBAI, Raymond Rushing of the Cook County Bar, and Sean Casterman of the ISBA. Please give them a round of applause. Looking to continue to strengthen the CBA in the future, immediate past president Tim Tomasic shared his vision of a CBA Law School Ambassador Program. We honored that vision and created and implemented that program, resulting in direct relationships between CBA leaders and the students and administration at all law schools in Illinois, plus Notre Dame. Finally, also looking toward the future, and embodying my bar year theme of inclusion, we created an ad hoc committee on advancing and promoting inclusion. The committee, ably co-chaired by Sandria Amate and Adam Zabelin, We'll review current CBA policies and practices to identify opportunities where affirmative efforts might be implemented to increase and enhance feelings of inclusion within the CBA and promote and expand the welcoming and inclusive environment that the CBA presents, while also recommending changes and updates to existing CBA policies and practices to promote and advance inclusion within and throughout the CBA. As you can see, we've had a very busy year, very productive and very successful. However, this year would not have been possible without the support and leadership of many, many others. First, I need to acknowledge and thank all of my fellow bar leaders, particularly my good friends, Adam Zeblin. That's like the third time I've mentioned his name. And Aurora Austriaco, wherever Aurora is. Next, I've had amazing support from the judiciary, including past President Mariam Ahmad, Judge Mary Kay Marubio, and Judge Robert Harris. Thank you. And importantly, without my colleagues and friends at my law firm, Clark Hill, I would not have had the opportunity to serve as president this past year, so thank you, Clark Hill. I also want to recognize the amazing talent and leadership which exists at the CBA, starting with Executive Director Beth McMean and including everyone on the CBA staff. I was also truly fortunate to have an incredibly wise, talented, and invested executive committee, general counsel, Howard, and board of managers. They kept me on my toes and never shied away from sharing their sometimes brilliant and sometimes not ideas. So thank you. I also want to take this opportunity to thank my friend and my mentor, Tim Tomasic. When you have Tim and his wife Jen in your corner, you truly feel like you can accomplish anything. Thank you. My last thank you, another group in my corner was my family. My husband Johnny, who's over there blushing now, juggled so many things this past year, including our teen daughter's swim meets all over the country, including Indy, while making sure I received the emotional and logistical support I needed to serve as CBA president. Thank you, Johnny. And thank you to my daughters, Grace and Addie, as well. For those of you who have teens, you know that they've kept me grounded as only teenage children can do. Lots of eye rolls, lots of no's, lots of who cares, all without speaking. While I look forward to investing the energies I've shared this past year with the CBA into my practice at Clark Hill as a probate, trust, estate, and guardianship controversy attorney, I am incredibly grateful for the trust that you placed in me during 150th year. I truly hope I made you proud. Finally, the CBA is in amazing hands. Our next president, John Sciaccotta, breathes and bleeds the CBA. John is fair, inclusive, progressive, humble, and a true believer in the mission and impact of our Bar Association. With his wife, Esther, also known as the secret to his success, along for the journey, John will lead the CBA through another successful bar year, our 151st. It is CBA tradition for the outgoing president to pass the Lincoln gavel to the incoming president. The Lincoln gavel is historic in that it was made from the overhead beam of Ernst Cooper Shop, where Abraham Lincoln studied borrowed law books by firelight. And it was presented to the CBA in June of 1946. So John, the time has come for me to pass you the Lincoln gavel. Please join me.
You saw how fast he took that back. So I guess it's my turn, right? And I'd like to call upon my dearest friend, Chief Judge Tim Evans, to administer the oath. I'll have more to say about Chief Judge Evans in my remarks.
Thank you very much for that very kind and generous introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with the members of the Chicago Bar. And I want to recognize Ray for the wonderful year he has had trailblazer, my friend. Let's give him another great round of applause. I am truly honored to have this privilege of swearing in this young man who will lead this organization over the next year. Not just because he's a great lawyer and he has helped everybody else getting to this particular point, but because I've known many of the members of his family down through the years, all the way back to many who are sending him best wishes in heaven right now. But, and that would be Papa Milano and all the other members. But there is one here this afternoon who is as proud as I am to see this young man take on this new position. And that is his mother, Rosemary. And I'd just like to ask her to please stand so we can recognize her. I'll be right back. Now, John, I'd like you to step forward and raise your right hand. Repeat after me, inserting your name at the appropriate time, and I'm sure you will know when. I, and state your name,
I, John C. Sciaccotta,
will faithfully execute my duties
will faithfully execute my duties
as President of the Chicago Bar Association
as President of the Chicago Bar Association
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance with the bylaws of the association.
and in accordance with the bylaws of the association.
Congratulations, my friend, you are installed. God be with you, God. God will be with you. I have no doubt about it. We're proud of you, boy. Thank you. We're proud of you. I love you. Love you right back.
Thank you, Chief Judge Evans. To say that I'm overwhelmed would be an understatement. And I promised Esther that I would not get really emotional today, so forgive me if I do. Because this means so much to me. But before I get started with my remarks, I'd be remiss if I did not call to the attention of our great immediate past president, Ray Koenig. I can't tell you how enjoyable it was for me and for all of us to work with Ray. Ray is smart, decisive, inclusive, and fair. And also, he has an attribute that is the key to any great leader. He has courage. He has a tremendous amount of courage. And to be our first openly gay president of the Chicago Bar Association, and his theme of inclusion. Ray, you've hit a grand slam. I can't tell you how enjoyable it was for me and the rest of our executive committee, bar leaders, the board, the staff, to work with Ray Koenig. I got to know Ray better. I got to know his partner, Johnny, and their family, and he is A+. So Ray, as a small token of our appreciation, and I'm not using any notes, it's all from the heart. As a small token of our appreciation, thanks to Tim Tomasic, we have a beautiful decanter from Kinsale Crystal in Ireland, in Kinsale, where we were with Tim Tomasic's trip. And it has an engraved 150th logo, as you being the 150th president of our bar association. And there's two glasses, one for you and one for Johnny, that I'm sure you will have some of the lovely bourbon that you enjoy. I can open it up, but I'll let you do that. And there also is a tray, and this is just something that we wanted to do for you. Thank you. Members of the judiciary, Illinois Supreme Court, boy, it's so great to see all of you up here. Chief Judge Evans, judges of the circuit court, CBA members, family and friends. It's hard to believe we're here. It's been a long journey for me, but I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I'm having as much fun now than I did on November 5th, 1987. It was the proudest day of my life, next to getting married to my wife, Esther, and having our 4 children. I want to tell you a little bit about me, my journey, and then I want to recognize the people in this room that have made this possible. This day is about all of you. It is not about me. And as my partner, Jerry Holiski, often says, John, you are the communitarian. And maybe that's right, but this day is about everyone in this room. I grew up in an Italian-American family on the northwest side of Chicago, in the Galewood section of Chicago, the home of the 36th Ward, the home of my dear friend and mentor, former Alderman Bill Banks, that I will talk a little bit more about as we progress here. My family was in the restaurant business. I was the first person in my family to attend college, let alone law school. I started at ground zero. My family owned the popular Papa Milano and Milano's restaurants in Chicago from 1929 until 2007, and they lasted over 4 generations. In fact, my great uncle, Tom Granato, was the first person to sell pizza commercially in the city of Chicago 100 years ago this year, at Granada's Pizza at 907 West Taylor Street. So I came from a family, and it was embedded in me to please the customer. And I can tell you that when I was a small child, I would come down to the restaurant every Sunday with my mother, who was then waitressing. And I met all kinds of people, and it was quite an experience. Now, honestly, I didn't really love going down to the restaurant every Sunday. But there were many positive attributes that I received from that experience that I did not know at that time. But it's bode me well, I think, in my career. It's bode me well in life. And one of the things that was stressed to me, because my family was not educated, was to be educated. I'm a first-generation lawyer. I didn't know any lawyers. And I was fortunate enough to, along the way, meet someone in college by the name of William J.P. Banks. And Alderman Banks then was an alderman in the city council and ultimately became the longest-serving zoning chairman of the city of Chicago. He was really the first lawyer I had ever met, and really the first person that talked to me about the law and a career in the law. He also taught me about, and I'll never forget it, I was in his office in the ward, and he talked to me about integrity, about the family name, about never blemishing it. And that was so important to somebody that did not have a family member that was a lawyer. So he was a shining example to me and someone that I really respected, and he taught me so much. He served as the longest-serving zoning chair of the city of Chicago without any blemishes. I'd like to recognize Alderman Banks. Please stand, Alderman. Your legacy is cemented, not only in the city of Chicago, but in me. I carry with you as my mentor. I honor you with everything I do. It's because you were one of the first that exposed me to life as being a lawyer. I want to talk a little bit about legacy today, profession, and family. Legacy, profession, and family. My theme for the year is leaving a legacy for our legal profession. And before I get into how I would like for us to proceed with that, I want to talk about my journey as a lawyer. I originally started with Tressler back in 1987 and then went to the Kelly Olson law firm and ultimately had my own firm for a little while, and then I made a really good decision. I merged my firm with the Shefsky and Freilich, now Taft firm, and one of my really dear friends, Greg Furta, that I met riding the train in from Barrington, and he introduced me to Sid Freilich and Tony Licata. And I gotta tell you, there are some things that are perfect fits. At that time, it was a perfect fit for me, and Tony Licata has been a dearest friend of mine and such a mentor and role model. He's a fantastic lawyer, but he's, as Bill Banks says, you are big brothers to me. Tony, will you please stand and be recognized? Tony taught me the right way, as Alderman Banks did. They told me the right way to practice. And along the lines, before I became a lawyer, I met a gentleman by the name of Richard Dick Culver. His sons, Trent and Blake, are here today. Please stand, guys. Dick Culver taught me how to make friends in the practice and establish relationships. Make friends in the practice and establish relationships. And he told me that the best way to do that is to get involved at the Chicago Bar Association. And back in 1987, I did that, having served on all kinds of committees, and Terry Murphy put me on the golf outing committee, and I was with Howard Susskind as co-chair of the Bench and Bar Committee, where when I was chair, we honored Chief Judge Evans. And I rose through the ranks. Fast forward to 2015, I made another big decision. I joined Ehrenberg Goldgen, the third oldest law firm in Chicago, and it was a great decision. I have great partners. They're great people. They believe in giving back. In fact, our partner, then partner, Frank Greenberg, was the president of the Chicago Bar Association in 1969-70. And you may have heard of the Greenberg Commission. Frank Greenberg was installed in the middle of June 1969, and days later, the Illinois Supreme Court issued an order for a special investigations as it relates to two Supreme Court justices, Justice Klingbeil and Chief Justice Klingbeil and Justice Sophusberg. So Frank Greenberg and his 5-person committee had to do an investigation of the judges who allegedly favored a lawyer in a particular case before the court. Guess who the chief counsel of that commission was? None other than Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. John Paul Stevens was an associate at Rothschild, he was a partner then, at Rothschild, Berry and Myers and Stevens. And he litigated and investigated that case in room 1501 of the Daly Center. And they wrote a report in 6 weeks. If you recall, any of you Cub fans out there, 1969 was one of the hottest summers. Judy Sherwin, my partner, knows this, Larry Sufferton. It was one of the hottest summers on record. And there was no air conditioning in then called the Civic Center. But they came back with a recommendation and a report to the court, which ultimately led to the Supreme Court justices resigning. I'm thinking of Frank Greenberg today because what Frank Greenberg did was for our profession. He knew that the rule of law and that the perception of our perception is the bedrock of what makes our profession what it is. And that at any time, if we lose the trust of judges and the system and the process, we've lost everything. I was at Lawyers Club the other day, and Chief Justice Tice was there. And she talked about what keeps her up at night. What keeps her up at night is the threat of the rule of law, the attacks on the judiciary. I will tell every judge in here, right here and now, if you are attacked unfairly, if you are attacked unjustifiably, if you are attacked willfully, because of the judicial ethics, you cannot respond, but we will. The Chicago Bar Association will respond. I have many goals for this year, and I'm going to go through a list of my families, because I have my Ehrenberg family, my immediate family, my Justinian family. But before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about leaving a legacy for our legal profession. And one of my first actions is to appoint an exploratory committee to explore the feasibility of creating the Chicago Bar Association Legal History Museum and Educational Center in Chicago. And I've appointed Dan Cotter, past president, to chair that committee. I can think of nobody better. The committee will also have Appellate Court Justice Sanjay Taylor, Laurel Bellows, David Scriven Young, Judge Tom Donnelly, and Judge Tom Mulroy to be the committee in formation. If anyone's interested in joining this, I think, Herculean effort, as I told Chief Justice Tice and Larry Suffredin, this is my dream. I've been thinking about this for many, many years because I love history. And I think what's happening now in our country with attacks on the rule of law, we need to learn from history so it doesn't happen again. The only way you can know where you're going is to know where you've been. And so this is one of my key initiatives for this coming year. But one of the things we're going to do this year, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have fun. And one of our first fun events and programming, and I'm just so honored to be able to do this with Wings, Women in Need Growing Stronger, the largest domestic violence organization in Illinois. Where's Rebecca Darr and Janet Boyle? Please stand up. This is personal for me. This is personal for me. This is a bad thing. This is bad. And we are, along with Sonny Choi Williams, the president of the ISBA, my partner, Karen Mills, president of the DuPage County Bar, the Women's Bar Association of Illinois, Whitney Seal, and I hope I see everyone tonight at the Women's Bar where Sarah King of the Clifford Law Offices will be inducted. Give her. As well as Wings. Did I miss anybody, Sonny? One more? Who was it? Oh, the ISBA. Of course, the ISBA. I'm sorry. So we are going to have a program in October, which is Domestic Violence Month. and Denise Brown has been invited as the keynote speaker. So, I'm sorry? Denise Brown is confirmed. Rebecca Dar. That makes my day. Thank you, Rebecca. We are also going to have an ADR National Symposium with Judge Bridget McCormick, who's the retired Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court. In October, Judge Tom Mulroy, who unfortunately could not be here today, is chairing that. I've always emulated all of you. And I will continue to try to emulate you and what you've done for our association, because I know what you've done and I stand on your shoulders. You are tremendous leaders, and you fought for your legacy, for the profession, and you created a great family in our association. And I can't thank you enough, and I will always recognize you. I also want to recognize our officers, Katie Liss, Judge Nicole Patton, Tricia Rich, and John Amarillo. So glad to have you, John, and immediate past President Ray Koenig. This year, you will see, if you see one of us, you will see all of us. And we will be everywhere. We will be at every event, at least one of us, because our association must have that presence. It's that important. And it also aspires us to have collaboration and cohesiveness with all of the bar associations. My journey through the CBA has always led through a couple of people, and I want to talk about this. So when I decided to run for the board, Terry Murphy always would say, "Meet me at the Berghoff." And so we met at the Berghoff back in 2017. He said, "I want you to run for the board." And I said, "You know, all my kids are grown now. I have more time." "Sure." So who did I call? I called my dear friend Bob Clifford, Kevin Durkin, and Justice Michael B. Hyman. And I said, "Hey, Terry wants me to run. What should you do?" "Go for it," without hesitation. Fast forward 2 years, in the middle of the pandemic, 2019, 2020, I signed my submission to be treasurer of the association on March 5th of 2020. What happened 17 days later? I'm sorry, not 17. Friday the 13th, March 13th, the world changed. And I have to thank Judge Mariam Ahmed and Judge Tom Mulroy for pushing me. They approached me to run for treasurer, and I went to go see Bob Clifford and Kevin Durkin again. And I also went to go see Chief Judge Evans. And I said, "What do you think?" Oh, and there's one other person I went to go see who cannot be here today, and I'm very sorry about it. Judge William J. Bauer. And I said, "Judges, Bob, Kevin, what do you think?" "Johnny, go for it." Judge Bauer said, "It's perfect for you. You've been doing this your whole life." Bob Clifford, our Champions Award recipient, Kevin Durkin, Bill Bauer, Judge Mariam Ahmed, Tom Mulroy, I can't thank you enough. Please stand and be recognized. There are many folks that I want to represent, that I want to acknowledge here, the least of which is my dearest friend, Tim Tomasic and Dan Coton, and Sean Cashman, their partner. Sean texted me last night, "Johnny, be bold. You're the right man for the job at the right time." Meant a lot. To Judges Tom Mulroy, Judge Mariam Ahmad, Chief Judge Evans, Judge Bill Bauer, Justice Michael Hyman, Laurel Bellows, past President Bob Clifford, past President Kevin Durkin, past President Jesse Ruiz, past Presidents Dan Coten, Dan Cotter, Lynn Grayson, Steve Elrod, Tim Tomasic, and Ray Koenig. This year is for you. It's also for my mentor, Dick Culver, and past President Don Hubert, who taught me how to be a lawyer, taught me how to give back to our profession, taught me how to respect the profession, and taught me how to be a good family person as well. I will tell you that I'm going to ask each of you this year to find your legacy. We're going to leave a legacy for our profession, but I want each of you in your lives to find your legacy. What is that legacy? What is it as it relates to the Chicago Bar Association? What does it relate to any bar association? What does it relate to in your life? Simon Sinek is an author that changed my life, and I've read all his books on Find Your Why. In order to find your why, I think you have to also look and find your legacy. And I'm going to ask all of you to do that this year. When you don't feel like going to a committee meeting, when you don't like feeling like coming to the Bar Association, we don't feel like doing something, I want you to think about your mentors and what they did for you and how you being active, you giving back, you honor them. That's what I will ask you to do. Real quick, because Beth's going to get really mad at me and Judge Evans has court pretty soon, I want to go through my family really quick. My wife, Esther, of 39 years. Please stand, Esther. Wouldn't be here without her. I want to talk about just a little bit about my 4 children who are the pride of my life, in our life. My son, JC, my son, Michael, who's a lawyer, my daughter, Anna Rose, and my son, Joey. I'm very, very proud of you, and I love you all. My cousin, Angela, my Aunt Joanne, my godmother, my cousin Jay, Annie, Joe, and Janice, my sister-in-law, Sherry. Thank you so much for being here. And now I'm not going to try to not be emotional. My mother, Rosemary. Mom, I wouldn't be here but for you. There were some difficult times growing up, but you always made them seem better. I tribute this year to you and what you did for our family and what Grandma and Poppy did for us. The way I became a lawyer and wanted to be interested in the law was my grandfather took me to traffic court at 321 North LaSalle when I was 5 years old, 57 years ago. And I didn't know anything about the law. He was there to help a friend. Sound familiar? And I walked out of there and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer someday. And now I'm president of the Chicago Bar Association. I talked about Alderman Bill Banks having such a profound effect. I want to talk about my law firm, Ehrenberg Golgan, just for a minute. I met with Chris Bannon and Jerry Holiski in March of 2015, and when I went to interview with them, it was like Tony, I thought I was at Shefsky and Freilich, immediately. And I was sold, and I was just hoping that they would be sold. And Jerry Holiski and I started the Business Divorce and Complex Ownership Disputes Committee of the Bar Association. There's a number of my partners, Judy Sherwin, David Johnson, Amy Gibson, who are all in leadership at the CBA. Will everyone at Ehrenberg please stand and be recognized? Great firm, great people, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for all of your support. I also want to talk about something really important to me, my Fenwick High School folks that are here. I graduated proudly from Fenwick in 1980, and Father Lapata, thank you for always being there for me, saying prayers when I needed them, and being a friend. Dr. Jerry Lorden, who started the Fenwick Bar Association with me way, way back. Thank you, Doc. Chris Ritten, what a friend you are and how important. And the first person I met at Fenwick in the fall of 1976 is here today, my freshman football coach, Bob Kamel. Stand up, Coach. You taught me what it was to be a friar and how proud it was to be a friar, and what a great day it's always to be a friar. Thank you, Coach. I also want to talk a little bit about Jesse White, former Secretary of State. You want to talk about a legacy? Stand up, Mr. Secretary. Let's give him a round of applause. What a legacy you have. You found your legacy. And I'm just honored to have been your friend, and you've been my family's friend like Chief Judge Evans forever. You may remember the restaurant was downstairs from the 42nd Ward in the Gold Coast. So I would see Jesse White my entire life. You're part of our family, as Judge Evans is, Jesse. Thank you. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my Justinian Society of Lawyers that I'm a past president of, and I'm super proud of that. I know Brian Monaco, the president, is here. I saw Judge Regina Scaniccio, past president, Judge Lisa Marino, who will be chairing our Bench and Bar Committee, as well as being on our big trip that I'm going to talk about in a second. I know Jim Morisi's here. Who else is here? Past presidents. Thank you all for being here. So talking about Justinians and my heritage, where's the CBA trip going to be? It's going to be to Sicily. April 28th, tentatively, April 28th to May 4th of 2025. And I'm really honored that Judge Tom Donnelly, Judge Tom Mulroy, Judge Peggy Champus, and Judge Lisa Marino will be co-chairing the CLE, and my wife Esther and Jean Coton. Is Jean here? No? Well, I'm going to recognize her anyways because she's done a fantastic job. They are planning the trip right now, and we hope to give you some dates. My DuSable history music, there they are, Perry Ermer, stand, Perry Ermer. I'm proud to serve on the DuSable Black History Museum Board, and we will also be having a diversity program with DuSable in February of 2025. I want to just talk a little bit about, very quickly, my Creighton University where I met Esther. My fraternity brother Joe Kelly is here. My Barrington people, Brian Battle, Frank Faracco, David Hirsch. Thank you all for being here. So in closing, because I don't want Judge Evans to get mad at me, there's no doubt in my mind that the CBA will be here 150 years from now. And the reason it will be here is because of all of your legacies. You will touch someone and mentor someone that will carry that on in the future. And so a part of you carries with that person and is transferred down the line. And that ultimately someday, our great-great-grandchildren will have a piece of us, just as I've indicated those most important to me today. Judge Tom Donnelly, I have to tell you that one of the most fulfilling things that I've done in my career was to be your treasurer for your campaign reelection. And we won. Also, I want to just reiterate my partner Karen Mills is doing a fantastic job as president of the DCBA. I don't know if there's ever been two presidents at the same time of major organizations. So we honor our mentors by being involved, by doing good and perpetuating their legacies through what we do, and contribute and keep and assist others. It creates and it perpetuates our association and our profession. My idea to leave a legacy is the creation of a legal history museum that will live on forever for future generations, for those that had no lawyers in their family, to become inspired as I did as I traveled the traffic court 57 years ago. So I'm asking each of you as I close to find your legacy here at the CBA and in your life, and it will definitely make our profession better, leave a legacy, and you will be fulfilled. Thank you all. This is a great highlight and honor of my life.